right. Almost sort of getting close to ready. All right. Okay, that's... Is there anything... Okay, it doesn't look like there's anything... on that page that's particularly super bad to show, so that's good at least. Is that fixed now? That's showing the chat, right? Nope, that's just showing nothing. Okay. Try to fix that. There we go. It should be there now. All right, hello and welcome. I am a few minutes behind because I was trying to make sure the camera was working, and it was not. So I was fixing the camera, but as you can in fact see me, hopefully, here, you can tell then that I did manage to get it fixed. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with my OBS. This time I guess it was my fault because I was trying to use it with a USB HDMI adapter recently, and the way it feeds in is the same way as the camera that I use here. Really doesn't like to have both things going, and I try to like unplug and only use one at a time, and it still doesn't work, and then still somehow only one at a time works inside of OBS, and I never know which one it's going to be anyway. Y'all probably don't care about all of the weirdness of my OBS, so let's get on to the real show. Welcome and good morning. Thank you to anybody who's watching. For those that don't know, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. This is a weekly stream that I do around this time, 10 a.m. Central Time usually, on Saturdays, and I am typically working on stuff related to CircuitPython. If you're new and you don't know anything about CircuitPython, you can learn more at the main website here, CircuitPython.org. This is basically a version of Python that runs in tiny computers, runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers, such as all these ones over here. These things, when you choose to use them with CircuitPython, which is just one of the things that you can do on these devices, they're very they're very generalized devices. They're capable of many different things. CircuitPython is just one of them. If you choose to run CircuitPython on your microcontroller, most typically how it will work is it will plug into your computer like a thumb drive. There'll be a code.py file, a Python code file on that thumb drive. You can edit the code on that file and save it. And then when you save it, the microcontroller is actually going to interpret and execute that code that you put into the file. Good morning, DJ Devin. Finally managed to catch a nice live stream. Yeah, I heard. Sounds like you've been fairly busy from the meeting notes. For sure. So yeah, that's microcontroller. CircuitPython is awesome. It's the thing that I like to do with microcontrollers. But again, there's lots of other things you can do with these devices. Again, CircuitPython.org. That's where you can go if you want to learn more. CircuitPython is an open source project. Anyone's allowed to use it. Anyone's allowed to put it on their own microcontrollers. Even people who manufacture microcontrollers are allowed to add support to their devices for CircuitPython. That's all free of charge. You don't have to pay anyone to do that. All the source code and everything is out there available. Anyone can look at it, fork it, do what they want with it. In fact, it is a fork of the MicroPython project itself. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York, and they're the ones making CircuitPython possible by paying the folks who are working on it. There's a team of folks that work on CircuitPython full-time and are paid by Adafruit to do so, and there are some folks like me who are paid to work on it part-time, and that is kind of how this particular project works, at least. So if you want to help support CircuitPython and Adafruit, one of the easiest ways you can do that is just head over to adafruit.com and purchase hardware from them. They've got microcontrollers. They've got all sorts of bits and bobs that you can connect with your microcontrollers in order to make sort of anything that you can imagine, really. Some interesting stuff on the front page today. Out of these things on the front page, the one I would say here that's most interesting to me personally, if you're interested in that, is probably the camera one. Memento camera, or ESP32s are kind of fun to mess with as well. Little Wi-Fi chip there. You can run servers on it. You can connect up to the internet, do all sorts of fun stuff there. So head over there, get yourself some toys. Thank you for doing that. Thanks, as always, to Adafruit for supporting CircuitPython in that way. Diving in, I'm glad you're here, DJ Devin. You picked a perfect day, DJ Devin. I want to look in one thing here in image load, which is unrelated to you specifically, but I have pulled up the keyboard stuff, which I saw you pinged me on. And first, let me apologize. I guess it's been a while. I didn't notice these messages back before. Thank you for the more recent reminder. And yeah, I have that queued up to look into today, the keyboard stuff. So you picked a good one to come. How's it going, C. Grover? Good morning. And Tyeth as well. It's comforting to hear other people experiencing troubles with OBS setups, etc. Reassures that they're not alone in their problems. Yeah, thank you. Definitely OBS is always a bit of an uphill battle, for me at least. I should probably go through and clean it up some. I guess part of my problem is I've been copying my old scenes forever, and there's a bunch of stuff in there I don't use, which I guess is not helping me at this point, especially if there are instances where like a certain source is like occupying the hardware of the camera or whatever. But yeah, it's I got a lot of craziness going on in OBS. But as the title implies, we got some DisplayIO stuff teed up today. One of the things I saw this week, which I thought was really cool, is in image load library, hug report to, let's see, Chansuk, maybe? CH4N Suk 3. I'm guessing that's maybe an A and an E, but I don't know that for a fact. So hug report, thanks to this person for adding support to the image load library for JPEG. So if you are familiar with CircuitPython, you may know that more recently we had the JPEG.io core module added to CircuitPython, which gave us some ability to decode JPEG images and show them on the display in CircuitPython. Before JPEG.io was added to the core, that was not a thing that was possible. This is now support in image load, and part of the thing that comes along with that, if I understand correctly, when you use this, and it's been a minute for me personally, so part of this is we're going to go back and maybe try this decode or decode bitmap. I mean, that does look like you're going to get a bitmap. So I was going to say something, but I don't think it's true anymore. Let's read this. Let's read through this, and then I'll get back to maybe what I was thinking. So adds JPEG support calls to, let's see, via calls to JPEG.io allows use of consistent code without having to switch back and forth. So basically what this is making it making it so that in your code, in project code, you can just use image load, point it at your image, and then with this change, if your image is a JPEG, it's going to now work where it didn't before. Or if your image is a bitmap, it's going to work just like it used to work before. The difference being, if you wanted to use a JPEG before, you would need to use code like this, which is different, right? This is using JPEG.io decoder. So basically what this has done is made it so that we can get down to one API. And let me preface this with, this is like, I'm saying this as though it's a fact. This is my understanding at the moment. I could still be wrong at this. I'm reading it now for the first time. I saw it go by, but other than that, I have not looked at it yet. So yeah, preface. This is my current understanding. Could still be wrong at this point. It's just the way I speak is like, as I understand things. So this is the easiest way. This is the easiest way to do it, as trying to create a JPEG decoder in Python is never going to be efficient as JPEG.io, which is definitely, yeah, that's definitely true. I assume it would be too slow on the current generation. Now, what I will say, JPEG decoder in Python never going to be as efficient. That's definitely a true statement. It's never going to be as efficient. But also, microcontrollers get faster every year. So if that keeps happening, theoretically, the efficiency won't matter at some point because the chip will just be fast enough to do it Anyway, JPEG-D are coded in C and well optimized. Progressive images not supported. I don't know what that is. Been lazy too, didn't get back to soft keyboard months ago. Yeah, no worries. Lazy is the wrong word. ADHD with shiny new things. Yeah, I hear you there. I definitely struggle with that as well. As like I'm always moving on to the next thing. My brain is like hyper focused on one thing for a couple weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks. Usually is around the timeline, and then I'm usually jumping to the next one. And I can force myself to circle back sometimes, and I do try to get back to stuff, especially if it's stuff I'm working with other people on, for sure. And I will say, for anybody watching, if I'm ever working on something with you and it feels like I've dropped it or whatever, please feel free to ping me, nudge me, whatever you need to do. I definitely freely admit and know about myself that I will definitely just jump on to the next thing sometimes. Let's see here. Originally, it was going to implement a check for the flags which indicate what encoding method is used by scanning the header data, as other classes in this library do, in order to allow raising an error without having to call JPEG-IO at all. Okay, that'd be interesting. Do a little bit of processing in Python, read the header, and try to decide if it's a thing we can do or not. But comes after EXIF data, which can run quite long. This means it could potentially require reading and parsing a lot of data on the Python side, get to the needed flags, something that JPEG-IO will do much quicker. Okay, so it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. It'd be nice, I guess, to have that, but if it comes after some other data, which could be long, then it's back to the same, like, it's not going to be efficient in Python, so we'd rather just pass it to C. So more or less, I agree so far with what this individual kind of laying out here. I intentionally kept the arguments provided to JPEG decode minimal. Extra arguments are primarily for blit operations, and anyone needing those operations is likely better served by using JPEG-IO directly. JPEG decode. I'm not sure I understand what that means. Decoder. I don't know. What else does this take, though? Decoder. Okay. Looks like it can... Oh, interesting. I didn't know it could do that, actually. Okay, so you get a chance to do some... some operations on it. You can scale... it's not a straight up scale that you can just pick an arbitrary amount. It's 0 to 3. You have four choices, I think. It's kind of like small, medium, large, extra large, or whatever. This is from memory as well. I could be wrong on that, but that's what that does. You get some coordinates of where it's gonna take from. Horizontal pixel location in the bitmap. No, okay, so this is coordinates where it's gonna paste to inside the bitmap, because the way this works is you call decode and you pass a bitmap in, and it's actually going to fill that bitmap for you. Okay, so XY is your target location where you're going to start filling from. But you do have X1, Y1, X2, Y2 for clipping, I assume. Yeah, bounds to be copied, so you can clip only a certain rectangle out of the input JPEG if you want. And then there is also skip source, skip dest, which are allowing you to skip certain colors, which is helpful if you're trying to do some like chroma key type stuff. Not sure I filed an issue or future request for it. Efficiency always matters. I mean, it matters, but at some point, once the computer is fast enough, like, it doesn't matter. Basically the way I look at it. Like, once the computer is fast enough that it can do it on a time scale that's not perceivable to humans, then it's like, in my mind, doing the slow way is fine at that point. The slow way, which is still faster than we can perceive. Like, if you are in a hypercritical situation where you really need to squeeze out every instant, then, you can always dive into C and you get the benefit of doing that. But most of the stuff that I do, like, Python is plenty fast for. On current microcontrollers, ESP32, S3, S2, RP2040, I've found to be pretty fast as well. Changes to the init file are to check the flags indicating JPEG image, and calling the load function if so. I've also included simple test with the usage. 48 by 48 of a cat. Yeah, always good to see a cat picture come along in a PR. Let's check out the cat. I feel like that's obligatory at this point, right? Nice. Nice little kitty. Okay. I'm going to give it a try. I know this is already merged and stuff. I just want to try it, see it with my own eyes, and kind of just do it, right? I think it's really cool that we have support for this, so... Yeah, sweet. So yeah, so literally, if you were changing to a bitmap image, literally the only thing you would need to change is right there. And the rest of this code would just work with a bitmap as well. Yeah, that's super cool. I like that. All right, let's try this. I haven't met a microcontroller that I haven't been able to slow to a crawl with API data. Well, that's true, yeah. If you're grabbing big JSON or something like that, looking through it. Touch menu. Yeah, touchscreen, I guess, can do it to you as well. Or I suppose generally the graphics. Graphics do scale pretty hard in CircuitPython. The bigger the screen, especially the more pixels you're drawing, it can slow you down a fair amount. I guess that's definitely true. I did not set up the other camera before I started today, so we're gonna do that here. Is it 225? Yeah, that's right. Doesn't look like it. Oh, it is. Okay, just gotta be patient. We want to go light or no light? I need to figure out the lighting where I'm at. I have this problem where, like, different times of days and different days, the lighting situation where I'm at is drastically different, and it leads to either the light being no good, with the light on being too bright, or too dark without. Part of it is this situation where we can't really, like, have this without glare. I think we're just gonna go no light. We could probably get better focus. That's good enough for now. So we need to get the new image load on the device. This is a different project. If anyone is interested, I don't know if anyone here will be interested, but speaking of, like, the sort of shiny thing that my brain is focused on for this week, or this 2-3 week period or whatever, my current one, or one of my current ones, is like historical ciphers and really ciphers in general. So if anyone happens to be interested in ciphers, shameless plug, I have deployed yesterday cipher.foamyguy.com, which is a website that has there's only 5 levels right now, but it's like 5 levels of ciphers that you can try to solve. So that's the ciphertext. You have to try to put the solution in there and submit it. Each one unlocks the next one. And then, while we're on shameless plugs, I'll throw one more, which is the other, I think last week or the week before, I made this thing, Diagramoji page. This is just a little toy that lets you convert some text into emojis. Oh wow, it's a little crazy with the knife there. And then you can also... There's a base set, so this is just a substitution cipher. So a couple, like 2 letters, translate into a emoji. And you can randomize it if you want, or you can use a seed here as well, which will change the actual key to the cipher. This one is on GitHub. If you search my GitHub for Diagramoji, it's listed there, and you can click live demo for it. The other one is cipher.foamyguy.com. And then I'll get back to CircuitPython now. What is this? Building a... Oh, okay, this is SD card. I don't really need this. This was a simple test, I think, from Bitmap Saver. Did I change it at all? I mean, I changed the file name. I think that's the only thing I changed. I'm just gonna grab this from here since we're on this page. I'll download the JPEG too. Why is this so small? .640 by 800 display. I'm hoping to dot clock someday with a future microcontroller, something that's like 1.5 gigahertz with 32 megs of RAM. Whew, that sounds nice. Raspberry Pi can do it, but I love seeing the advancements in microcontrollers for some reason. Still a place to pioneer. Yeah, I like that as well. It's fascinating to me. Like, I was certainly not involved in the rise of computers that were this size originally, like in the megahertz, speed and the megabytes of storage and RAM. Like, I was not around messing with computers when they were this size. I would agree with you, or at least from my perspective, one of the things that's fascinating about messing with microcontrollers now is it's fascinating to kind of live through those constraints. It's different this time around because we've got decades of more experience and stuff to build on. We are probably not doing it the exact same way this time around with the current hardware crops, but it is interesting to kind of like live through those constraints and really think about, like, I have, 900K of storage. How am I going to use it to its fullest effect? Or I have, 1 meg of RAM or whatever. Like, it's kind of an interesting thing for sure. Okay, JPEG test is there. JPEG test is set there. We presume this would fail without updating the library. So let's just validate that. Oh, also it wants to be inside of images, which I didn't do. I just put on the root. I'm just going to change that. All right, unsupported image format. Yep, very good. And then do I have that in lib? Because yeah, okay, I do have that in lib. So we want to update that. I'm just gonna circup. This is in the circup repo, which is kind of random. Circup install Adafruit image load upgrade. I think that's a thing, right? Nice. And then we should be able to just restart. Nope, we still got unsupported format, actually. 92. But this, it doesn't say lib. That, I guess it just cut out there. Yeah, I don't think. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's it might not be released. So it's merged. It's merged. It was merged yesterday, but it's not released. Let's make a release. And that's going to be I think that's going to be a 1.21 because that's a clear new feature. There's no backwards compatible breaking stuff, so we don't need to go 2.0, but we definitely want to be middle number because it's new functionality. Used to not be able to do it. Okay, and then it's not gonna officially be in the bundle until tonight when the AdaBot tool runs, which runs sometime overnight. I don't know exactly when, which means that Circup is not gonna get the new one until tomorrow. So I'm just gonna clone it. If you're into cryptography, then YouTube. Oh, nice. Got a YouTube channel. I'll definitely check that out. Let me copy this. Yeah, that's been one of my oh yeah, this thing doesn't let you copy. Wait. Copy. Yeah, this thing. Okay, but I can just use Discord app, I think, right? Yeah, here we go. So why, I think I have ranted about this before, but I will say one thing about it, which is why does the Discord web app, when you right-click a link, not have copy link, but the Discord app does? So far that's coming up as a not found. Let me see here. Oh, I didn't copy all the way. I see what happened. So the one in the app just doesn't even work all the way either. Okay, here we go. Nice. Yeah, thank you for the recommendation. I will definitely check that out. Got it pulled up here in my watching browser. I gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Everything from simple Playfair ciphers to modern encrypted video connections. Crypt Tool 2 is very powerful piece of free software. Nice. Yeah, Playfair is one of the ones at the risk of revealing too much, hopefully. Anyone's actually interested in playing through it, but one of the levels is Playfair. I have an idea for a custom Playfair, which I will do eventually as well. But anyway, not a cryptography stream. Where was that? Okay, so yeah, I cannot do Circuit because that's not going to be there until tomorrow. So I cloned it. We're just going to open it, and I'll just copy it over from the cloned one. I'm actually going to do open. Just open a random one of these, but not that one actually. Because now open is going to be in the right folder. Image load. Let's minimize this. Let's not do that. Cancel. I've been trying to just use one environment overall for CircuitPython stuff instead of like literally every library having its own virtual environment. I don't think I need that many Pythons floating around, so I'm going to keep like a CircuitPython in VM. And it is merged, and I cloned main, so you know what I should have done is my clone script though. Git remote -v, git remote rename. I like to do these based on the, I think this came from Scott, honestly. I like to name my remotes as the name of the GitHub user. So instead of origin Adafruit, because this is Adafruit, and then if and when I add a foamy guy or anything else, I'll name the remote in that. I have an Ada clone script which will do that for me when I clone. I just forgot to use it. I should put that script in GitHub somewhere. Custom playfairs are tough. I prefer multi-substitution. Something about it is satisfying. Single substitution is too easy, but also the most gratifying to solve when you first get into cryptography. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. Multiple alphabets make it a lot harder. As soon as you can go from just like just find the most used, and then like that's probably E, so just guess. Like as soon as you get into multiple alphabets, you make that sort of first low-hanging fruit pass with just counting be a lot harder. The diagramoji thing is actually Well, it is simple substitution, actually. Never mind. I was going to say it does use pairs of two, though, diagrams, which I first learned about from Playfair, which is an attempt to try to defeat that numerical analysis, because you won't, E's don't get encoded by themselves, they get encoded with their surrounding letters. But there certainly are still pairs that are more frequent than others. Although, in that case, you may be interested to know the custom Playfair I have in mind adds an extra 5 characters, and at least one of those extra characters can be a ignore the next X characters thing, is my idea for it. So it's not really multi-alphabetic in that it will still use the same substitutions, but there can be some duds where they will come after that sort of like dummy indicator thing. So if you just substitute all of them, you'll end up with garbage in the middle. Crypto has analysts like that. We'll do trigrams too. Nice. Should be there now with JPEG, right? Yes, okay. Nice. Kitty. Look at that kitty. Let me scale it up. I think that kitty deserves to be bigger. Let's go. It's just doing group, root group. Let me make one more group. It's kind of pointless in this example, but I just like having a separate group to be scaled. So let's just call this scaled group. Scale. Let's do. Oh no, I don't think we need the entire Michael Jordan. Let's just go with 3, I think. And then we're gonna put that into here. Scaled. And we're gonna put. Probably should not call this group, honestly. I'm a main group kind of a guy. I like main group for that one. Main group, append, scaled group. Scaled groups. So, the new PyCharm has got some pretty interesting completion. But I will say, like, every now and then it suggests stuff that does not make sense. Like, it got scaled group, but it also just randomly added an S to it. Maybe I typed the S. Maybe I messed it up. I don't know. That should make our kitty bigger, I believe. Yeah, look at that. Okay. And then just to make sure I'm understanding this right, do I have any bitmaps? Yeah, I have a bitmap. We can just grab, let's just grab Mario. So I should be able to just straight up swap this. Mario 16 BMP. Totally different format. Okay, I don't know why those came up, but cool. I didn't save it. Yeah. That one has green, which is meant to be transparent. Theoretically, you could say this, and then the green would go away. And we would be left with just Mario. Try renaming files to not have matching extensions. Let me know if you mean something different than what I did. I didn't see exactly when you said that, if it was before or after I changed. And I'm not sure exactly what you mean. But I did change to a BMP, but you might mean something else. It's going to be so nice to switch between image load, BMP, and JPEG on a whim and not have to change anything. Yeah, totally agreed. There's a learning curve. Sounds like you're already past the basics. The software itself has a learning curve like any. Yeah, nice. Thank you for the tip, for the pointer. All right. That is super sweet. Okay, there are two things I have open here on soft keyboard. One PR, which I totally did not see from a while ago. This is adding a some exception handling, looks like. Possible to throw a key error by pressing on the edge of the screen outside. Ah, okay. I think I'm okay with this for now. Invalid keys. Not in the printable list. Not sure what the last part means. So we basically just have all this code used to just be straight there, but now it's inside try. GitHub diff is kind of like not the best for this kind of change because of the indentation, but and it's been a minute since I looked at this code, so I'm actually not even really in tune with what this is doing. So it's like if key, so this is doing some cooldown stuff. If the last time we press the key plus the cooldown time is less than the current down, so like had we waited for the cooldown time, touched cell, get cell. If we are not in shift mode, then pressed value equals get the raw text in lowercase. Else, if we are in shift mode, it's going to equal text with no dot lower, so those must be uppercase. Shift mode equals false. So if we are in shift mode, this turns us back out. So just like a mobile phone where you press shift and the next one is shifted rather than having to hold like a PC. Or if you can make your PC do that. You can make your PC do anything, so I guess yes, but key view, background color, change the color while it's being... Oh, change the color to indicate that shift has been turned off. Debug, if key value. If key value in touch cell key config pressed value equals key config key value. So this is a way to override. So right here, that's taking the text, which would be visible on the key. And this is kind of overriding it, basically. If you it's saying if you have a key value, we're going to use that instead. Arguably, this should be like an either or. These two chunks of code, maybe. So if I'm understanding right, like this is going to come through and set pressed value, and then this is going to reset it. This is not part of the PR review. This is me just wrapping my head back around this code, which I probably wrote. Looking back now, though, I think that should probably be either or. But then it's, I know Pylint likes to complain about indentions as well, though. If you get too many branches or whatever, last key press. Of course, this one's just community bundle, I think, right? So we don't necessarily have to follow Pylint to the letter if we don't want. Last key press time now, debounced is false. Shift key handled separately. Toggle to shift mode. If we are in shift mode, set the color. Shift key view. Probably shift key view so that we can turn the color back next time, or when shift mode turns off, basically. Turn that back, and then this code got removed, but really it didn't get removed, it just got changed where it's at. We already basically saw this up here, I think. Oh, well, the very first part of it we saw up there. This part we haven't seen yet, non-special, but it is right here. Touch cell background, color, and this is a little difficult to follow, but it's in the else, so that's else it was not a shift key press. So for every character that, for every key that's not shift, we set the background we set the foreground, basically, the text. Highlighted views we append. Pressed val we return. Okay. And then key error will catch because of ultimately this, I presume. Well, actually this, I guess. Probably. Yeah. I think I'm cool with that for now. I do think eventually it might be nice to raise from inside of here instead. But the rest of this code would effectively remain. Like the try would move a tiny bit, but the rest of that would effectively remain the same. But it's like kind of doesn't really matter also. Nice. Grid within a grid having 1 pixel border. Okay. So if you hit the border, you would be like just on the edge and fail. Okay. And then this one's about using icons, basically, I think, right? Special characters. Sure how to best to deal with special character switching. We might need some exceptions. Default JSON has base grid size, special grid size, emoji grid size. Okay, so basically like changing the... Yeah, okay, so it's not really necessarily specifically about the icons so much as it is about the idea of changing the layouts. So like on a cell phone, on a smartphone, for instance, on the keyboard, by default, you'll be on a QWERTY keyboard, you know, if you're set to QWERTY in English. But you can push like numbers and that'll take you to a number keyboard. And then you can press like, you know, 9-pad numbers and that'll take you to a telephone dial pad. Or you can press like, you know, symbols or whatever, and that'll take you to a keyboard that has a bunch of different, you know, all the different symbols on it. Like each one of those is kind of its own sort of layout within the keyboard, I guess. So ultimately, I think the question is kind of how do we achieve that, basically, right? Many arguments. Oh, CD should be, I don't even know where CD came from. Should be git. Oh. And then that one, the remote is actually me. Maybe I should make a me clone. Interesting. All right. I do also need to run to the restroom, so I'll be back in a minute. BRB. Okay. Let's get the example to this loaded up. Basically, you need a mobile-like keyboard layout. However you want to approach that, go for it. They're just my ideas, but I'm not a fan of two separate JSON files to do it. What would you like? What makes you opposed to two JSON files? I haven't dove into the code yet, but on the surface in my head, two JSON files sounds like a nice idea because you could put in the config for one, you can just put a pointer to another JSON file and you can have it say load this other layout, which would make it easier to like reuse your parts. So like, let's say you want to have one number keyboard and one symbol keyboard and one letter keyboard for one project, but then on a different project, let's say you want only numbers and letters and you don't need symbols or something. If they're all three in one JSON, you'll need to cut one of them out and use the two in the other project. But if they are in separate ones, you could be able to just copy the two you need, change like one little reference in there to make it not try to point to the third one, and you'd be done. But I also don't remember how these work either. Okay. I see. We did call it base grid, though, I will say. So it is kind of like set. Certainly that name implies prior thought of having multiples. Realistically, though, if we are going to do multiple rows, one thing we should have probably done is this should maybe be base rows instead of just rows. That way we could have like, name, grid size, numbers, and then you would do the same name rows. And we could say base is required, and then you can have others if you want. If we do go with a single JSON file instead of multiple, I do think we should change that to say base. Is there T9 support on this keyboard? There is not. I mean, the keyboard by itself does not have much like functionality, really. It's mostly a DisplayIO widget with a bunch of buttons that return, a character when you press them. But it does not currently have any kind of logic about like, any other logic basically beyond, return the character that was pressed, and then like, if shift is on, then return the uppercase character that you pressed. That's basically the only logic it has. It has no kind of isn't T9 is the one where it's like sort of based on the letters that are associated with the numbers, right? Like 1 is ABC and 2 is DEF and whatever, and then it has to kind of like guess based on your numbers which words fit or something like that. Am I remembering the right thing? T9 was a Nokia phone keyboard. Yeah, okay. Predicted what you wanted using the numeric keypad, yeah. Yeah. It does. So the thing itself, like this library itself, I would say is just the DisplayIO widget. You totally could take this DisplayIO widget and build that T9 logic on top of it. Although it might be hard on a microcontroller. I don't know how you could get the guessing to work without just having a massive dictionary. But if there is some way to do that, you could theoretically use this widget and build on top of it and do that, but this thing by itself doesn't have it. Multiple alternate keys from a single key isn't in there. That should be doable with a custom grid. I was having issues switching back and forth. I imagine you probably would be able to do it. I just straight up failed at it. I gotcha. Not sure what T9 is, but there's support for changing the JSON file. Whatever you want for different languages. We got Flash for a reasonable dictionary. Yeah, it's true. Text is pretty small, I guess. Well, and I mean, theoretically, we have the internet. That could be slow, though, I suppose, if you're trying to send it to the internet and get your guests back. All right, so this one is doing what? It's got both, but we do touchscreen, format date, format time. Work awesome. Let's get to this. It is running. I just didn't. Boy, you know what? I have no idea the location of. Here's one of the things I was using for one. Here's a different one of the things I was using as one. Stylus is the word I'm looking for. Don't know. Somewhere on this desk, there is or was a stylus. You don't see it anymore, though. Did not copy the library. Or is it, is this just wrong? Should it be no space? I feel like it should just be no space. Okay. So we need the grid layout. I think a soft keyboard similar to NearDuc's keyboard layout. Similar with JSON files, except it's all touchscreen based. Yeah, that's true. Fieldlearn works well. As well as stylus for resistance. It works like it registers just as well, yes, but it's more difficult to control for me. I can't usually be as precise with my finger. Awesome. Is that in the repo? It's not. I don't remember where that came from. I know Jepler worked on this. It's trying to use 12. Do you have the font file by chance? Your problem with the library naming conventions, please come. Yeah, past 10. You guys always screwing me over, honestly. We can push it to PyPy too. think you're right. Oh, this is the wrong thing. Yeah, looks like it. Thank you. I'm gonna put this in the repo. I know there's a place somewhere documented how this file got created, and you can create your own at any size that you want. But I do not know where that place is off the top of my head. I am gonna put it in the repo, although I don't know the license for it. I could reuse the license from the other one in the bitmap font. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. What? Oh, this created a file. I don't know, a file called fonts? Come on. Oh my goodness. Please, why can I not just undo my mistake more easily than this? Just everything. Now we want to file font, no fork, awesome, 12, SDF, license. For custom.me for custom icons. Ah, this Discord link thing. But this is not, this is like the root source. But there is somewhere, I think Jeff, I'm pretty sure it was Jeff, but I could be wrong. But somebody, I believe, in the CircuitPython world wrote up a thing about how to use it with CircuitPython, which included how to basically take those icons from that root source and turn them into these PCF files, including even, I want to say maybe if you wanted to customize them. I think that showed how to do that, although I don't recall the exact specifics. But I don't know where that's at. I do think it's around somewhere. But no, I'd probably use FontForge. Just need extra space or... Apparently I already copied it. One of these days I would like to dive back into the core and see if I can't figure out why this gets slower at the end. I feel like the way this gets slower towards the end suggests that each time we add a new thing to the group or whatever, we're having to iterate through all the old things because it seems to linearly slow down. But that'll be a problem for a different day. So the One thing I will say is the calibration is not so great. I should run the calibrator again. Isn't it touchscreen calibrator thing in here? Touch calibrator. Maybe it needs something else. Maybe it needs... Grove. Does it really import this way? And then there is one in the... There's not. Let's see. It's the example that shows how to do it. Okay, there's... Oh, interesting. Okay, last time I used this, I don't think... Last time I think there was more to it, I guess. Looks like there's basically no code needed, really, at this point. I do think it will need to be this, though, right? Yeah, there we go. And then that just runs. Yoink those. Magic little numbers. Oh dear. Keyboard method. Definitely use mobile layout JSON. Mine might be slightly different from the one you have due to giving up on the switch mode. Okay, that's a little bit easier. Actually hit the right thing. So you are on mobile. Wait, where does it target the JSON file? Or is there a default? Maybe there's a default. .config. It does go to default, I see, okay. You're using mobile. Does it need to be... Does it need to be a full path? Looks like it might need to be a full path. Nope, that worked. Okay, and then in this one, the idea would be you press 1, 2, 3, and you're going to get to a number keyboard. Big. I wonder... Oh, I see. Another thing that might be good is to maybe change this to not assume the library path. Because right now, if you wanted to add another layout, you kind of have to put it inside the library. Or use .. / which is not the best. It might work, I think. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're working on switching. And then, so is there currently a mechanism or no? That's the part I don't remember. This is on the last row. 1, 2, 3, key value 2, 2, 4. Or 2, 2, 6. I just put library files in the library directories. I gotcha. Yeah, I think it just, from the user's perspective, especially if they want to make a custom one, it would make sense to me if they put it like either in their root or if they made their own layouts folder or something, just so that they don't have to necessarily put it inside a lib. We could make it so it supports both. Like if you put it in there, it could search there, and if it doesn't find it, it could try at the root. So what is this doesn't do? What does it do when you press it currently? A little hard for me to hit space. Nothing really. Okay. That might be the key error. Or actually doing anything. No, it just says key text 224. How does it know not to put it on the screen, though? I'm surprised it didn't just convert it to a string. Surprised it didn't just convert it to a string and put it on the... text. So that printed. So I don't know if there is a... I don't know if there's an ASCII... I'm assuming this is ASCII code, right? What was it? 225? Decimal? E1? Oh no, that's like B thing. Okay, never mind. Is there a shift? No, doesn't seem like it. Oh, well, there's shift in and shift out. I have no idea what that means. ASCII code or shift. Is that a thing? Not be a thing. Shift in and shift out. No, I don't think. This is a different thing. This is for typewriters. And so long since I forgot it's ASCII 2. That's what happens when you do down. Yeah, no, I hear you there for sure. Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But if you update the library, you could accidentally, you could accidentally wipe the other one if you delete the delete the old version, which I think Circup has a replace or something like that now as well. I think it warns you, but U1 shift key. Okay. Okay. If it's in printable characters, put it there. If it's 42, process a backspace. But there is no okay, and it wouldn't 225 would not be a printable character, so that's why it didn't just convert it to a string and put it. I am almost in favor. And that would do nothing right now as well, right? 226. Now what you could do though is you would just write another if statement right there. Like right here, you could say elif key value 226, then add a smiley face. But let me just confirm, without that it doesn't. Yeah. You could use a key value though. Well, but it wouldn't work because it's not a printable character. Honestly, it might be nice if we provided a way to just do, and I guess that's up to the code here, right? Because the enforcement of printable characters is at the code level. Although, where did this come from? Can't find declaration. Okay. I am inclined to say I think I am inclined to say key value is allowed to be a string, and if it's a string, then treat it as the literal string. So for smiley face, and this kind of gets into the layout switching as well because it will need to handle this. So if key value for smiley face was smiley face, and if the code here said instead of this, if it actually said if is instance key value string, then put it in the label. But that can make a smiley face now. And then you could also, obviously, like I've done a smiley face, but you could also obviously do anything at that point, right? You could have a, at Gmail key or a whatever, right? .com key, for instance. That kind of thing. And then for switching, I am almost thinking, so one question, who's responsible for switching? Should code.py be responsible for switching? Or should soft keyboard? And I'm leaning towards making code.py responsible for it. Truthfully, I think I'm leaning towards keeping all the logic out of soft keyboard. Now, one thing that could happen is Soft Keyboard could maybe change its name to be Soft Keyboard Widget or something that implies that it's just the GUI layer and none of the behavior. But I think I like the idea of keeping Soft Keyboard to just be a very moldable GUI that can be used in a bunch of different ways. One of them being this one. In which case, it's going to be better to have the layout switching happen outside of Soft Keyboard. Because basically we'll have another branch of this if statement that's going to say, like, if key value is a special value that indicates we're supposed to switch, then we switch. Or we could look for a thing other than key value. I think I'm inclined to just use key value, though. So then, like, here we could do something like layout or something, right? And then here we would need to check, is it an instance of string and does it not starts with layout? Because if it does starts with layout, then we have different logic. Take the layout out of it, so we get just the file name. If os.path exists, layout file. Open it. Layout object. Actually, I don't know if we need to open it. One question is, so right now we don't have a way to change, I think, right? Right now, the constructor accepts the layout config, and that's it. Once you create it, that's what you get. Yeah. We should probably decide first, how does the switch work? Does the switch take the file name, or does the switch take the object? Well, let me catch up on the chat here. Is there a default way to handle layers, like for custom mechanical keyboards? Not sure I understand, like a way to interface soft keyboard to a physical keyboard instead on the smiley face place. Oh, the smiley face is a placeholder for emoji. It never started on. Yeah, emoji would be really hard to solve, I think. Because labels and DisplayIO in general don't support emoji currently. So, and I think it's above my head to be able to do it. So yeah, the little string smiley face is the best I can really get you anytime soon. Because I thought I just add it to the printable characters instead of a separate JSON. I struggled with that. I mean, in the definition of soft keyboard is a way to have layer up, layer down, layer in that would change the soft keyboard on the fly. So like the way it works. So it currently does not have that logic, Gordy G, to answer your question, but it's essentially, that's kind of the logic we're adding right now, basically, is this ability to change. So I'm not calling them layers, I'm calling them layouts. Although, you know, looking down on it, looking at it right now, maybe layer would be a better term, truthfully, because I know that is used on keyboards a lot. But the short answer is basically no, it does not currently have that, but that is like essentially, effectively what I'm in the process of writing right now is that ability to switch layouts. I mean, it's Python code, so it can do anything if you put your mind to it, but it's not like easy to do necessarily right now. I'm trying to make it easier to do. So I think we just take the file name. I think let's just take the file name. Let's just say, So we get layout file, and then let's just say, I'm going to mock this in. I'm going to say soft keyboard dot set layout. But we could do a property, I guess, right? Do we want to do a property? Layout file, maybe? Or should we call it layout config, because that's what it's called here? Or really, this should probably just be called layout file. I think I like this being file better. So unfortunately, this is going to break backwards compatibility. My apologies. You'll have to change your code slightly if you want to use the new version. But I really think this will be better as called layout file. And then actually, I shouldn't be doing this way though. Okay. In the old version, the same variable was actually getting used for both, which I don't necessarily care for too much. So I do like the idea for sure of making this layout file, and then we could just keep layout config to hold the actual object, not the file name. The JSON object that has been read and parsed out of the file. One question though is, I'm gonna just technique. But then I also think you should only be allowed to set the file. I don't necessarily want people to try and set the config directly, the object. So I think what we're going to do is, that's now file. This layout config I'm actually going to change to underscore layout config. But this actual one right here, I'm actually going to change even further and just say layout file. And then this, we're going to check that. And then this one, we'll read, put it on the config. And then the thing is, all of this stuff here is inside of a init. Like from here down, we basically, though, we need to be able to redo all of this stuff. First and foremost, though, I gotta run to the restroom again, so BRB. You need to. I'm just along for the ride. I'm sure whatever your solution was hopefully because it's better than mine because I couldn't get past this part. I gotcha. Okay, so we're gonna go. We are going to actually make this def underscore init layout. That's gonna get all of this. Some of this stuff doesn't need to be in here. Those. This. Really. All of these. Okay. One more thing here inside of init self.append layout. We want to say if self.layout is in self, then self.remove self.layout. Does that work? If self.layout is not none and layout equals none. Okay, so if it's not none and if it's in the self group, because soft keyboard extends group, so if it's not none and it's in the group, we want to remove it from the group because we don't want to double it up and have two keyboards. So we're getting rid of the whole old layout entirely, which is not the most efficient thing in the world, but you know. Then we are going to be going and creating a new one. Veteran duty real quick. And then part of our remaining problem here, these are trying to use things that we didn't pass in. Character font, symbol font. I think we should just put those on self.character font, character font, self.symbol font, symbol font. Go, buddy. Very interested in the octopus. Then these can be self. XY width height. Those just get passed. I think I'm inclined to just. Well, we can't just call it. Yeah, we can't just call it self.x and self.y because we are a group instance and group already has x and y. I mean, arguably, we should be putting 0 for these and then setting self.x and self.y to the values that come in. Because in that situation, we wouldn't even need to pass these through because those would be 0. Width and height, we can go ahead and set, I think. Oh, but I have a width and a height. I'm gonna call it layout width and layout height. Okay. Eventually, it might be nice to provide the ability to change these as well, but for right now, I'm not worried about that. For right now, I'm saying just changing basically the keys, not the size. Width and height and pixels are keys. I'm pretty sure it's in pixels. Yeah, in pixels. The keys, the size of the grid comes from the layout, which has a grid size 10 by 4. This one is 10 by 4. Okay, inside of a init, we are going to now just want to call init layout and then save this and see if everything still works correctly. Except for that I have this, so let me just comment this out for now. Unexpected keyword, all right, I changed that to file. Nice. So init looks like it's working fine. Let's make sure the typing is all good. Either my calibration is now way messed up. Oh. Okay. Okay. No. Okay. I broke it by... This can't really work. Unless if when we check for touches, we offset by our X and Y, which I think I'd rather not do, actually. I think I'd rather just keep that how it is. We are actually just going to go back to needing to pass these through. We're not going to do this. Instead, we're going to say layout X, layout Y. Indexing from the top of the screen instead of the keypad. Yeah, you were totally right. Because of the way I changed X and Y, it was basically not accounting for the location of the keyboard, actually. Okay, all those are working good. So now on soft keyboard, I'm going to make a property def layout file. Return self.layout file with an underscore, and we're going to have a setter as well. New layout file. I like to call these new. I know it doesn't matter, but we say layout file equals that. Wow, look at that. It actually knew I wanted to call init. Good job. Do we need to do anything else, though? So I'm going to say those are going to have to stay the same. Those are going to have to stay the same. Those are going to have to stay the same. Actually, we might need to do... We might need to do something with that inside of here. Like maybe we want to put that back to an empty list. I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. Okay, but one more thing though is this should be inside of here. Can do it. No, it doesn't matter actually. Okay, so that way when you call init layout, it's going to refresh from layout file. So whatever file is on layout file, that's going to become what's in layout config, which is what's going to get used to render all this stuff. So the first time, that will be the default one or whatever we set it to initially. And every other time, that's going to be after we use this setter, we will have updated that. We'll then call that. That will then refresh layout config inside there and go on and do the rest. I think that sounds good. So then here we would get back to like this. So if it starts with layout colon, strip the layout colon off, and then we say keyboard layout file equals the new layout file. All right, I don't think I reran it. And then type has no starts with. Oh. We need to check for none so that we don't try to call starts with on it. Nope, function missing one required positional argument. Oh. Is this set to default? Yeah. I think just the Titano speed. My Feather S3 loads much faster. Yeah, the Titano, yeah, SAMD51 is a bit slower for sure than S3 in my experience as well. I don't think I've run this particular thing, but just in general, I think the int object has no starts with. Shouldn't this have kept the ints out? Oh. If it's a string and it doesn't start with layout, then do this. If it's a string and it does start with layout, then do this. So one thing is we had a bunch of extra lines. It's unclear to me if... Unclear to me what those... Maybe I need to remove more stuff. What actually are the lines? Well, the lines are just from the grid. So I mean, throwing the grid away should have gotten rid of the lines. I wonder if this worked. Let's... Let me comment the rest of this for now. If we just remove the old layout, theoretically we would expect the screen to just go blank after that, basically. The keyboard area. Does that happen, or does the old one stay showing? We can't do that because... self.first time true. Really what I want is this to be commented out after the first time. It's not really a thing. But luckily, Python has if statements. So this is obviously not part of the real behavior. I'm just trying to figure out what it actually does when we remove it. If it's actually like going away or not. I have no idea who was pressing the equals key, but somebody seemed to be pressing the equals key. Auth keyboard has no first time. Did I not just add a first time? What? What? This is on the device. I call a knit before we set it. Okay. Yeah. Time is linear. Fair enough. So the touch is still working, but that kind of makes sense because the grid layout still exists and check touches is still calling into the grid layout. We didn't like set it to none. We just removed it from self. Why though? Why? Stop. That's not ideal. Hopefully that's not going to happen anymore. Theory. We just set this to none and then back. Does it start working? And if so, then this is like more of a bug in the core than anything at our level, so I'm probably not going to mess with it if that's the case. My gut instinct is that we are having a thing where what's visible on the screen is actually not what DisplayIO believes is visible, but I'm not sure. Is the equals from rogue mouse jiggler? It shouldn't be. I don't have any mouse jigglers that I know of, so hopefully it shouldn't be. I would normally start removing layers and then reappend them. My best guess on the equals is that, yeah. So that's a DisplayIO bug. It's a DisplayIO bug. So if we turn this back on, do we see it draw correctly or no? Basically, I think somehow the dirty region is not calculating correctly or something like that. Like it's not painting, like basically those pixels that are staying white, the next time they would get refreshed to anything, they would refresh correctly and not have white there anymore. But for some reason, they're not getting refreshed. That's my like trying to explain it in English hypothesis that may or may not be correct. Yeah, well, I don't think the order will matter. I think if you just, I mean, removing and re-adding should maybe help as long as it triggers a refresh. I think the main thing that matters is just getting it to refresh correctly. And when I say correctly, I mean all the pixels, not just the ones that it thinks are dirty, because it's not calculating that correctly, I think, but I don't actually know for sure. I can't say I've seen it all the time, but I do think I've seen something like this before. My calibration is still a bit rough. Well, I'm also trying to do this at a weird angle. It could just be I'm hitting higher than I think. For some reason, space really wants to give me, comma. Honestly, this one's a bit cramped. The mobile one is probably a bit better for like actual use. Or if I could find my real stylus, because that's the problem, is this is like kind of a huge thing for trying to use a stylus. Anyway, that seems to be working. Let me add one that switches back into the default one to make sure that's working, to be able to go back. And then as long as that's working, I can basically push this for now at least. Because it has to redraw the entire grid first. Yeah. So let me... Well, we have control, but control's not really a thing all the way. So I think I'm actually just going to use control now for mobile. Oh my lord, what did I just change? I have no idea. I guess nothing, because it doesn't show edited, but like it moved over here, which like makes me think something changed. Well, I didn't mean to change anything. Mobile. Now we should be able to switch back and forth both ways. It's a little janky. Maybe we can try one more thing, actually. Let me try something slightly different. Instead of setting root group to none and then back to main group, what if we display.root group, well, it's main group, so what if we just say main group dot remove soft keyboard and then just re-add it? Maybe that'll work too, I'm not sure. Oops, that's the pointy end. I want to scratch up my screen. No, see, that didn't work. We've still got those extra lines there. You know, the other thing that about the other time, just a minute ago when I did that, is it went really fast. Why did it go so fast, I wonder? Yeah, I mean, this is not great. This is not a great solution, but it does work. And it's, like I said, it seemed like it went really fast. Did I imagine that? What is that? How did that go so fast? Oh, I have an idea. I bet that when we're creating all of these lines, if we are showing the thing that they're going into, it slows the thing way down. But if we aren't showing it, it can actually go like instantly. So realistically, in the first time we init, we should wait to add to main group until after that init. But I mean, how do we wait, right? Because the constructor calls init layout. The constructor doesn't return until after that's done, and then we don't append until after that's done. Yeah, I don't know how we would wait. I guess just time.sleep. But I bet if we would put time.sleep or something here, maybe we would initialize that before it becomes visible, which then would make it render almost instantly. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And I'm not even sure if it's correct or not, because it's all still I don't think it's a memory thing, though. I think it's the drawing of the screen. I think when it's trying to draw each of those lines, during the actual time when it's drawing the line, it can't be processing more stuff. Whereas if it's not showing the lines, it's like instant. It takes like no time to do. It can actually create all of those lines instantaneously if it doesn't have to show them while it's creating them. And then once they all exist, and then you go to show them, it's super fast because you're not in the process of adding them one at a time, right? It's not having to render this one and then render that one and then render that one, you know, and then the next one and so on. Instead, it's just the entire display worth of pixels because it's already sort of built or whatever. So that's, I think part of the weirdness here is DisplayIO, I think actually does do a little bit of its stuff kind of in the background, so to speak, from the context of our code here. It's not really, I don't think, like a thread or anything, although truth be told, I don't really know how it works all the way. That's so fast, though. Oh, memory allocation. We need to get rid of the old memory. Maybe just calling GC might be enough. Does anything still have a reference to the old layout? Basically, we need to get the old layout object to get reclaimed. I don't know if this will work or not. Yeah, I suspect somehow we could get the first time to load faster, like the other ones do now, if we were just somehow not showing it yet. Like it does, I mean, it takes a second. Like you can see the outlines there for a second, but it's so much faster than first one. Nice, we made it back in extra time. I think we might be in the clear here. Yeah, sweet. Looks like we can go back and forth there. Let me make sure this keyboard is actually right. Like this is L and not something crazy, huh? Yeah. I'm not sure if the enter actually does anything. Does it? Yeah, enter doesn't actually do anything. You'd have to put like a new line or something maybe. Actually, that might not be, I don't know if that's supposed to be an enter because there's return right there, but. Sweet. All right, that seems to be working. And not crashing anymore, at least not yet. I'm just gonna take everything and commit it back, I think. I'm gonna copy it this way though. So the default will actually change to have that mobile. Already exists. I mean, I know it already exists. I would like to see in the wrong spot anyway. All right, there's that. Does that have recommit? Yeah, that's a problem. I'm just gonna, it's kind of bad practice, but I'm actually just gonna commit it. I gotta run to the restroom again. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I will come back and run pre-commit later eventually though and make a release once it's passing. Basically this error is the pre-commit that's in the repo is too old. It needs to be updated to a new one. But then the next thing is we're like trying to change over to rough. So I'd rather just change it to rough than update the Pylint. But then there'll be a couple more things to do. And like I said, I'm going to wrap it up for here. So I'm just going to push it to main for now, even though it might not pass actions, just to get it up there somewhere. All right. And I'm going to take off for now. So thanks for hanging out, folks. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day, good weekend, and all that stuff. Thanks again, DJ Devin, for the reminder on this and this, just collaborating in general on this project. I think this thing's super cool. Hug report also again to the JPEG author, which was C something, CH4 in SUK3. Thanks to them. JPEG, super sweet inside image load. I'll be back on this week, Friday, for deep dive. So tune in on Friday evening, afternoonish for that. Otherwise, I'll be back at the normal time on Saturday next week, 10 a.m. Central Time, as usual.